Welcome back, traders and investors, to Benzinga's pre-market prep, brought to you by Marketfy. I'm your co-host Joel Elconin, along with Dennis Dick, and we have Nic Chahine on the line. He's the
Hey, fo-
Marketfy Maven of Create Income with Option Spreads. Nick, how you doing on this Tuesday morning?
I'm doing great. How about yourselves?
We're doing good. I just love your overall take on the market here, and you have your basic thesis on the market, and kind of like when it goes down, you're like, well, the perspective on the market really hasn't changed, and we have rallies like we've had over the last couple days or last couple weeks. You don't get real excited on the upside either. Is there a reason here as the S&P's approach some resistance at the 2828 level here to be a little bit more optimistic and wait for a breakout to the upside?
Not really, not for me, unless we get really a catalyst. Yeah, I'm happy that we're bouncing. I don't want, I'm not a perma bear. I speak like one every once in a while, but only in the face of baseless rallies. In other words, the rally that comes just from relief rather than from future possibilities. They tend to not last because they run out of steam. But if you tell me that, okay, there's something new that we need to buy, then I'll chase perhaps or set up some longs based on that. Until then, I short the baseless rallies. And when we fall too fast without reason, also, basically baseless falls, I tend to go along with a few good, worthy tickers. I'm not going to chase the hot hands. I'll just chase what I know is value.
Nick, what are your thoughts here on GoPro? We know you've been all over it on the way down. You obviously were all over it at 42, and you were saying the stock would go to 35, and it did. And you were saying the stock would go lower, and it did. Now the stock's starting to form a little bit of a base here. You're starting to turn. We were getting a little bit bullish here. At least I was getting a little bit bullish here last week on the show, and I'm still bullish here right now. What are your thoughts on GoPro?
Well, the only problem with GoPro is, but by the way, it's a cool product, and what I didn't like about it is how people chased a ghost out there. Possibilities of it being a YouTube killer and all of that. It was a little premature, and they took it up to almost 90, if not 90. But by forming a base, yes, it is rounding at the worst levels it's ever had. So from here, basically, if you're going to take a long on it, what are you risking, right? That there's some intrinsic value to it. So if somebody wants to take a flyer on the long side from here on a bounce, I don't blame them. And my only worry about it would be just the market in general. So yeah, if the market suffers, it's going to suffer as well. But from here, if you tell me you're going long it, I'm not going to call you crazy. But it's not for me. Maybe on a debit call spread, I would play it. Kind of like I call them lottery money. Basically a sum of money that's not going to break your heart if you lose it, but it does offer you some nice upside and usually the success rate is somewhat not guaranteed. So that'd be the only way I play that.
Nick, just been taking a look here at Apple. I mean, this thing is just stuck here. I mean, it seems like, and I was just checking in on it when I was gone. It was 1 of 10, 111, 112 here. You do have earnings coming up. I mean, is this thing just coiling up here, or a lot of consolidation?
Well, Apple, I'd like to start by saying if I have to worry about a disaster in Apple, like complete disaster, then, I have to worry about the whole market. Obviously, it's got a good story to tell. However, it's been pivoting around 112 and a half. You can basically draw a line for the last month or two, including the flash crash. Well, obviously ignore that little tail down there. But there are a lot of technicians that call for much lower prices in Apple if it breaks a certain level. So the earnings is a game changer. Nobody can tell you how it's going to move, in which direction, I should say. So there could be an upside surprise. It could be a downside disaster. So if it's a downside sell-off, I'll be a buyer and I would set up some nice credit spreads that are going to survive and pay the bills for the next year. And if it runs, I'll probably say, oh, I missed it. Or since my book is short, I might take some calls or call spreads in it, or maybe call calendars, and just to hedge my book in general in case Apple moves. Because if it does move, it's 20% of the Qs or thereabouts, so it will move markets with it.
Hey Nick, you just used a term there, hedge your book, and I mean, I think people that are familiar with the markets, that's a term that we hear as far as net long, net short position. But I mean, we know you don't have crazy, you're not out there, shorting naked calls. Could you just talk about, what that means to you when you say,
Sure.
hedging your book?
Yes, I set credit call spreads and I leave a buffer zone from current prices, meaning even if the markets rise 5, 8, 9%, depends on the tickers I'm shorting, I still can withstand the heat. I'm not going to lose money unless they close higher than there, and then a little bit because I collect money for that heat, for the risk. So if I'm worried about a market spike, Apple could be a cause of a temporary market spike because it's a heavyweight, and if it moves on earnings, like last move in Google, for example, what was it, 15%? That's a heavyweight. It's coming this week, by the way. So that will be a hedge against, I would do the same with Google. If I wanted to guess a coin flip lottery money on earnings, because earning reactions, as I said, you can't forecast which way they're going to go. So it's basically a gamble, and I don't I don't like to put a lot of money on gambles. I would buy a debit call spread or a call calendar or just straight up calls. And if the stock moves in that direction, I'm making money. That money will offset any paper losses I have on the credit call spread, which are bearish in other things, and like the indices, for example.
Thoughts on Facebook here. Next stock is approaching a new all-time high here this morning. Old all-time high is up at 99.24. We are at 99.04 here right now. Big volume, 238,000 shares. Jefferies raised their price target up to $130 on this stock. Do you think we see 100 today on Facebook?
I wouldn't be surprised. It's nice to get round numbers. Usually psychology, they chased it before, and I think they fell a little bit short.
Mm-hmm.
If you take that point when they chased it before and you connect to all the high points, you get a line that was crossed by Facebook 3 candles ago, not including today's open. So that was the breakout, and I had a circle drawn at the levels it's at now. So technically, it's at where it should be. So for me, the chase is from here. I'm late. I'll say, oh, I missed it. I'll wait for the drop if it's going to happen. If not, I'll let it settle into a trading range that I can predict. Until then, I don't like to chase it up here. It's had an incredible run from the recent lows. And so maybe this one I say, okay, it's too high for me to chase and too hot for me to short. So I'll say I missed the trade. Kudos for you if you've been on board of it, but I'm not going to buy your profits.
All right, Nick, moving on here. We've talked about Twitter a lot on the show with you, and you've kind of stayed in the bullish camp here. You got some major resistance coming up at the 3150 level. Would you be more apt to chase a chart like this, after it's been beat up so much as, some of the high flyers just because it's going through a whole number?
Twitter, we had a 30-31 debit call spread set up that I mentioned here, I think a couple of weeks back or last week, I can't remember. But anyway, it fully priced in. I bailed out a little early, but I know some of the people didn't. Technically, what's it at this morning? I did not check the pre-open. Is it better than yesterday?
We're trading up 14 cents here at 31.05. We got a quad
Yeah.
of highs at 31.50 level. But Nick, just go ahead and just talk about the debit call spread, the 30-31. What you paid for it and
Oh, yeah.
why you take it off. I mean, come on, it's above 31 bucks. I mean, come on, get the full amount of money out of it.
Well, I paid 8 cents for it, and basically the maximum loss was that 8 cents I paid. So let's use 10 contracts. If I did 10 contracts, I paid $80 plus fees. Let's go with $80, and my maximum gain would be $1 minus the 8 cents because the width of the spread is $1. So I could have made 92 cents per contract. So if I paid 80, I could have made 920. I bailed out somewhere halfway. I can't remember. It was like a 3 or 4 times the money. It was a fun trade, and it pays the bills. Small car payment. Your gas expenses for the week or something for the month or something. Depends on how much you drive. For me, it's like for 6 months. But it's a way to participate on the upside without putting a lot on the line. So a lot of people say, I like Twitter. I just don't want to commit, $3,000 for it or something. So how about $80? $80 will work. Okay. So that's one way to participate on the upside. And Twitter, I like if it can add a few pennies, I think it's got a breakout. So technically speaking, now fundamentally that's something different. You know my opinion on it. I like the asset. I'm indifferent to the management. They can show. They've showed me they don't know how to make money, but the asset is good. So going long on it. The only risk from here, I think, is the market in general. But technically, it has a breakout potential 235. It hasn't developed yet. I need to see it. But a flyer on it, another 8 cents would be fine. But earnings coming soon, I doubt you can buy anything for 8 cents right now.
Yeah, a lot of earnings coming up. We've also got Amazon coming up here on Thursday, which is just a couple days from now here. This is another one. Looking at this FANG, this thing has come back, and well, obviously we're talking the Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. The only one that isn't within striking distance of its all-time high is Netflix because of their disappointing earnings report here. But Amazon here, 580.57 was the all-time high after the last earnings report. Obviously, they sold it off, and then it got beat up when they had that flash crash low of 451, which was ridiculous, and the stock has come all the way back up here now. Almost got there yesterday. It's trading up a buck here in the pre-market right now. Is this another one that's going to hit an all-time high before its report on Thursday?
I never short Amazon. I did a few times with credit call spreads, and they were hassles.
Why were they hassles?
Because of moves it just moves, and that was before it was hated. When it fell from grace. So it was like up and away. And I used to do iron condors on it. Always the upper end was a hassle. So I just stopped doing the upper ends and I just go along it like Apple. When it gets hammered, I go along it. Amazon is, I've said it before, it's the ultimate growth company. People complain about its profitability, but who cares? They keep growing the top line and they're not bleeding cash. They're using their cash into growing into other businesses. And I would not be surprised to see Amazon really hurt Netflix in the long term. In my opinion, that's the only one that can actually compete with it at its level. And whether it will do it or not, I'm not sure, but it's capable. I think it has set up. Amazon also is in the process of a breakout, which I drew a few days ago, and it's almost there. It's not there yet. I wouldn't be surprised to see it take out the high. And if it's on earnings, I would not short this one. And again, because my book is short, I will probably take some debit call spreads. But basically, these are not anything based on intelligence that I have. It's just because I want to guard myself against the move. Because if it moves, all the momentum stocks are going to move. That means the NASDAQ is going to move. That means my shorts are going to be bleeding a little bit red. So I'd like to get some Cretan green infused in here.
Let's take you away from your bread and butter there for a bit because we know you like to trade all these stocks. I'm going to take you to Weight Watchers here. And did you see this move off of Oprah Winfrey there yesterday? And this was incredible. I'm so glad that I didn't fade this move. And I actually was saying on the show, I was like, I never bet against Oprah. And this stock opened and it sold off a bit from the open, but then it caught a bit here again. We're up another 8% here again this morning on Weight Watchers. Everybody jumping on the Oprah Winfrey bandwagon here. Stock is now almost $15 in the pre-market. Actually just hit 15 right now as I'm talking from 13.92. What are your thoughts on WTW? Because this has been an incredible 2-day move on the backs of Oprah Winfrey.
Well, this is one spike that is not based. It's got basis.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. Because she can really move stuff. She's done it before. She can contribute to it. I believe she's going to do ads and stuff. And so
about 10% of the company, so she's probably going to do some stuff for it.
Right. If she becomes a successful spokesperson and she actually uses it herself, I haven't seen her in a while, so I don't know if she's going to use it or not. But I would not short this one. Besides the area, yesterday because it was in the news, I just looked at the chart. The 15 level is another breakout level from lower highs. So if it can successfully go through it, I would not short it again. But can I chase it? Maybe lottery money if I want to, but I don't need to because it doesn't move indices, so it's not going to hurt my personal book. So if somebody wants to participate on the upside with cautiously, then they can do so if they want to.
Dennis, when we get together with Lisa again, could you please not mention this stock? Because
why did she want to buy this stock at one time?
Like around $5.
Come on!
Yeah.
And why didn't you buy it?
I don't. I mean,
sometimes you just have to buy what your wife wants to buy, and if she loses money, it's her fault. If she makes money, then she's happy. So it's kind of like a win-win.
I know. I mean, it's oh my God. They have a very simple way of of counting your, what do they call them? Come on, Spencer, you should know that. You're counting your points. You count
Yeah,
your
the point
points, and
system.
it's a very simple system. I've known of a lot of people that have had success with it. You're not using like the drugs or the artificial stuff. They give you some guidance here. Am I buying this stock at 15? No. Am I waiting for a 50% retracement? Maybe.
Happy
Yeah.
wife,
Yeah,
happy
well,
life, man. That's
if
what I
if
would
you
say.
if it breaks 15, it's got room,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Yeah.
All right, here. Let's move on to some other stocks. I just got to get your perspective here on the oil sector. Been keeping a close eye on crude, obviously with what's going on in the Middle East. And to me, if there's like really something going on, the SPUs are going to tank and crude's going to go up. That hasn't happened. But what you've had happen is Exxon Mobil, and I've noticed Chevron just going through the roof here. Just give us a quick perspective on those two stocks.
Yeah, that's an incredible move. On Exxon, for example, the 79-ish level was pivotal, and they went through it like hot knife through butter. So the other level I would look at is like 83-ish area. That has been also another pivot level for them. But I'll give you a tip on that one. Dennis Gartman said to fade WTI or something, so calls it is in the crude, I guess. So. Technically, I mean, fundamentally, they're great companies as far as money making. They've got long history. But I can't invest in a rigged game until oil goes back to trading fundamentals and at least some technicals and not complete headlines and manipulation from OPEC and other players. You can't bet on one way or another because let's say there's a negative headline for crude and crude itself gets hammered, these stocks should be challenged as well. Nothing on their fault. So nothing based on their own bad news. It's just they're moving with headlines. So that's the only caution there. But, at lows, one can consider them and, you profit on the way up and then you dump them.
We've been on the line with Nic Chahine. He's a Marketfy Maven and the author of Create Income with Option Spreads, giving us a great perspective on the markets. Glad to be back with you, Nick, here on this Tuesday morning, and have a good trading week. We'll speak to you in 7 days.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.